This year is entitled Covering the Hair Part 3. First two shiurim, we're talking a little bit about covering the hair inside the house, inside one's chatzer, yard. We mentioned different opinions from the Bach, the Dakei Moshe, the Shulchan Aruch, and I want to stress that in those shiurim, we're not talking halacha l'maseh practice, what one should do. The couple must speak to their posek regarding this area, as in all areas of halacha. And so too with this shiur that I'm going to mention, we're going to talk a little bit about what about covering the hair outside. How much has to be covered? And once again, I stress, halacha l'maseh, pratik halacha, every couple must speak to their posek regarding this halacha. Especially in this area, because sometimes people go ahead and are lenient without discussing posek. They're just lenient because whatever reason, and there's not necessarily a thought out thing, and that shouldn't become an accepted approach. It should be that every area of halacha, with kashrut, with brachot, yichud, covering the hair tzniut, should be discussed with the posek. So I'm just mentioning some of the opinions here. So as opposed to the previous shiur talking about inside the chatzer in one's room, in one's home, doesn't one have to cover or not? Outside, public, everyone agrees one has to cover. The original format was 3 levels where you have the public area of Rabbim, then you have the Mavoy, which is like semi-public, and then you have the Chatzer private. And there were in the public area to have a kalta and then an additional covering as well that covers more of the hair. Then you had the middle area where you just need a kalta, and then inside the house. And 3 different levels discussed in the Dakei Moshe and Beit Yosef. As I said, we don't really see people following that division of 3 different places anymore. So let's assume it's outside where everyone agrees you have to have a proper full covering. But what does a full covering mean? There's a range of opinions on this one. And you have the Rashba on Gemara Brachot Chav Daled Aleph, which seems to say that it's not an objective shear. There was a certain amount of hair that was out that the woman did have out, and Maram al Shakar also says that in certain places more hair was left out, and even says that someone who moves from a town where more is covered to a town where less is covered, and then moving to the new place. So this is the makom now, the new place where they're staying at, where more hair is left out. That's the minhag of that makom. So he doesn't give an exact amount. There seems to be a certain subjective element. Lachem Hamudot in Brachot, a commentary on the Rosh, also seems to say that way. So there seems to be the most lenient opinion that maintains it's not an objective shi'or of what has to be covered. There's a certain element of minhag hamakom that plays a role here. That's the most lenient opinion. The other extreme, the Magen Avraham in Ayin Hey in Orach Chaim says that the Zohar's opinion that all the hair must be covered, not just inside as we discussed in the previous shiurim, but outside, especially outside, but all hair has to be covered. And like the Zohar, Magen Avraham says that's a very strong sheet, and that's how people should follow. So that's one extreme to another. The Rashba, Ramal Shakar, Lacha Hamudot have a much more lenient opinion where there is room for some certain amount of hair to be out, and then you have the Magen Avraham going to the other extreme that everything must be covered, and Chatam Sofer holds that way as well. Hungarian Hasidim have 2 covers like the Chatam Sofer speaks about. And then there is an opinion in the middle, Rav Moshe, Gros Moshe, where he has a chiddush. He says a tefach. The Gemara Baruch talks about tefach be'isha erva, the size of a tefach, a fist. So a fist doesn't mean, let's say a fist is 8 centimeters. It doesn't mean 8 centimeters all around. It means 8 centimeters squared, and that's the total area that could be left uncovered. So Rav Moshe does have that chiddush where he codifies an amount that could be left out. So in some you have a range. You have the Chassam Sofer, Magen Avraham, that approach, the Zohar, Kimchi, no hair left out whatsoever, and many hold that way. Then you have Rav Moshe in the middle. You can have up to a tefach, but up to a tefach means all together. That's so. If you have, let's say, half a tefach wide left, then it has to just go to the amount of 2 tefachim across, and that's where you would have to be, not more than that. People sort of misunderstand that with Moshe, and then you have the most lenient opinion, Ramal Shakar and Rashban Lacham Chamudo, which do allow a bit more depending on the Minhag HaMakom. What exactly that is needs to be discussed. It depends a lot on the Minhag HaMakom, and also the Minhag HaMakom has to be a legitimate Minhag HaMakom, not just people who just do whatever they feel like. Oh, now that's the Minhag HaMakom, and that of course would have to be discussed with the posek. All the three shitot need to be discussed. Of course, if there's a certain family minhag and there's a tradition, then that's what a person's been doing, then that's what should be kept. To go ahead and decide, okay, I heard this lenient opinion, I'm going to be more make and more lenient now, chas v'shalom. This should be discussed with a posek, always like all areas of halacha. Just looking to give a little bit of an overview of this topic. Shalom.